Hey everyone, and welcome. Welcome to the Creatio Low Code Marathon. I'm your host, Eric Hale, Head of Sales Enablement at Creatio, and I'm pleased to welcome you. It seems like everybody is in a good mood here in the chat. We have hello from New York City. Hello. So welcome to day 4. We have an exciting agenda for everyone today. Hopefully you had a chance to join our earlier sessions. We've been able to share some tremendous insight on low code and how it can help innovate, how it can help transform organizations. So today will be no shortage of that as well. We have a very packed agenda. So we're going to be focusing again how to create a low code company and rolling out applications in days. So we will have some great sessions on how to boost transformation post-COVID and beyond. I know we had a few questions on that in our chat yesterday. Enterprise transformation, how to roll out enterprise applications in 12 weeks with the help of low-code technology. And again, rolling out applications in days, not weeks or months. And we'll also talk about our ready-to-use applications collection 2021 that will help accelerate low-code development. And then finally, our 5th session will be about low-code chatbots and the fastest way to enable them. So great agenda, and we will be going through those momentarily, but I first wanted to announce our quiz winners from yesterday. So just to remind the audience, we had the question, what year will low-code application development be responsible for more than 65% of total application development activity? And the correct answer was by 2024. So just a few short years from now. We had many correct answers in the chat, but we randomly selected 3. We have Joseph Yazbek, Fred Musi, and Victor Yemek. You will be receiving emails shortly with your prize notification. And again, we will be conducting a quiz at the end of today's session. So please participate and get your chance to win those prizes. All right, moving on. So I wanted to remind the audience that if you have questions, please submit them in the chat. We will do our best to forward those on to the speakers and panelists. And let's go ahead and get started with our first session. All right, so today's trendsetter session is with Naresh Mehta. Naresh is head of digital and banking, financial services, and insurance in the U.S. Eastern market for Tata Consultancy. So Naresh has been currently heading up digital sales, solution strategy, and transformation for Tata Consultancy, and he's responsible for defining the end-to-end transformation of customers. So we're pleased to have Naresh here, and we'd love to show how to boost business transformation post-COVID-19 and beyond. So Naresh, I'll turn it over to you.
Good morning, good evening to one and all who have joined from different parts of the world. I'm Naresh Mehta, and I run digital as a practice for banking, financial services, and insurance for US East customers as part of my role within TCS. Today, I think I first of all want to thank the Creatio team for inviting me to talk about how low code, no code has been disrupting the industry and how we can change the entire game with low code, no code platforms, right? Specifically in the context of business transformation in the post-pandemic world, which is the whole COVID-19 setup that we had, right? So in today's conversation specifically, I would like to dwell upon a few important pieces, right? And those few important pieces comes from the fact that there is an outside-in view that we are looking from a low-code, no-code perspective. What our customers are talking about low-code, no-code space in general, right? What are some of the market trends that we are seeing? We quickly want to talk about some big shifts in terms of how the technology by itself is perceived in recent times. We're going to talk about what kind of accelerations. There are multiple aspects of accelerations that we are seeing with low code, no code platforms. I'll give you a little bit of brief on that. How do you look at the adoption value chain of low code, no code, right? There are two different aspects to it. One is look at the application part of it, and then the platform side of the things, right? In making the right choices. And finally, we'll give you a little bit of perspective on, what a low code, no code transformation means from a TCS standpoint, and, what some of the glimpses of how we approached the low code, no code transformation. So that said, I'll get started. Quickly. It's all about what your customers say. How your market is evolving, right? Specifically in the last 18 months to 24 months, we have seen a huge disruption in the way customers perceive the low code, no code technology by itself, right? We have seen customers talk about low code, no code, wherein which they consider that as a systems of engagement. They consider that to be a good experiential layer that you can bring it up in no time, and it can help faster time to market. And some other places we have seen customer, like for example, we are even the MD of a large insurance within North America. He's basically talking about how a low code no code platform helped them replace a age old legacy platform, and in no time, right? So I think it's so important to understand these perspectives, because the application of low code no code platforms is different in different customers context, right? But what we are seeing in general by and large are the common themes that we are seeing within the banking, financial services, and insurance world, right? You talk about use cases like workflow automation, which is basically you have a journey. You basically get that journey through in a straight through processing mode with a specific operation sequence using a low code no code platform. You get the workflow generated within a low code no code platform, add the right business logic, and boom, you're done, right? We are seeing use cases with respect to the secondary funnel, which is your advisors, the agent, that set of personas and applications for them, transformations around them being the hot favorite for low code platforms, right? Specifically, if in a banking context or in a let's say an insurance context, you talk about an agent. Getting the agent a good 360-degree view of a customer, helping them understand the right insight from a customer, what should be the right target fund that he can basically propose, or helping them generate the right leads for cross sell, upsell. Those are some of the use cases that we are seeing for agent, right? And likewise, we are seeing use cases in different fronts. You see use cases with respect to customer experience transformation, plan sponsor experience transformation in case of a retirement ecosystem and setup. You see lift and shift or a migration case of migration type of situations where we are seeing Lotus Notes migration as a common use case for consideration of a low code no code platform, right? Those are some of the themes that we are seeing. But needless to mention, none of these viewpoints or themes would make any sense unless the actual benefit outcomes are realized from each of these low code platform adoptions, right? Or building these applications on a low code platform. The most common one is, of course, everybody talks about speed to market, right? Which is the most important aspect of how fast can you get to the market, right? Barring the business agility it brings, barring the vitality index and the speed to innovation that it brings, right? But I'm going to talk to you about how we can look beyond speed to market in one of my future slides, right? So that said, let me give you a glimpse of how the outside in perspective of low code no code platforms within a financial services setup has shaped up, specifically amidst COVID, right? So some of the numbers, and of course they are on the slide, but if you talk about some of the numbers, more than 60% of the mid-size and large enterprises today are using at least one of these low code no code platforms, right? To drive transformations or one or the other use cases emerging from COVID or complementing the whole COVID impact, right? More than 30% of these enterprises deployed at least one of the business applications in their entire application ecosystem on a low code no code platform. And COVID has just accelerated this trend because the business models are transforming. There is a new a fintech or an insurtech coming up every fortnight in the market. How do you keep up the pace of at one end the technology disruption, and at the other end there is a whole business disruption that is happening from a business model perspective, right? So low code no code platform sits exactly in between that to bridge that entire disruption on both the fronts. On the technology side, and if I can shift your attention to the right side of this entire slide, it's all about how the perception about low code no code platform in the market has changed in terms of how it can be used to accelerate the application delivery process, right? So of course cloud sits on top of the list, where it can because of all the native capabilities that it offers, of course the resiliency that it offers, the security that it offers. But it's amazing to see how platforms like Creatio, Mendix, and multitude of different low code no code platforms today are the second favorite in terms of the technologies used to speed up the application development process, right? And to sum it up everything, you talk about low code no code adoption. 65% of all the application today, it will eventually be done in a low code no code platform in the next 3 years, right? From an effort gain perspective, there are different aspects. There are multiple perspectives that at least I have heard with different customers in terms of what it can bring. But if I have to just take a dipstick on what is the range, it's a broad range. There are some customers who have told us that with some level of fair, decent, complex integration, you can get about 30% developers productivity benefit in a whole developmental effort. And there are some customers who have said that it's more than 60% or around 60%. So it's that range that we are seeing, depending upon the complexity of the integration, depending upon what is the actual business use case, depending upon the use of citizen developers versus the use of actual IT developers, and multitude of different aspects or parameters that goes into that number, right? And at the other end, we are also seeing that citizen development and citizen developers are becoming front and center for at least the standalone use cases, right? More than 70% of low code users today, at least we have seen that they have learned the technology in not more than 3 to 4 weeks. So that's a huge gain in terms of what kind of citizen development can be enabled using these platforms. So I was dwelling about a little bit on what is speed to market, and of course we know that speed to market is important because it gives you one-click deployment. It gives you reduction in the time for UI builds, UX designs, because of all the out-of-the-box components that these platforms today enable. But most importantly, I believe speed to market is more tactical way of looking at a low-code, no-code platform. Once your speed to market is achieved and your product gets into a product market fit, it's the speed to value that is the most important benefit that you have to look in when you're actually making a business case for a low code no code platform, right? We are seeing an average ROI of about 250%, right, with an average payback of 7-month time. That's a humongous benefit that you can realize from a low code no code platform. What you have to be careful about, in my opinion, and given the experience, is identifying the right use cases. And identification of the right use cases, which has the right level of business impact to be able to get to that number, is the most important aspects in terms of how do you go about this adoption journey. We'll talk a little more about it, but needless to mention, speed to value is one parameter that should be front and center in evaluating any low code no code platform application development, right? Once you hit the market, once your release is done of the application, how you can generate the business value out of it, that is the whole essence of evaluating a low code no code platform. I want to take another different perspective on looking at low code adoption, right? And let's say if I look into the lens of an organization or an enterprise which has a different set of applications, types of applications, right? There are some applications which are business owned with zero complexity of any integrations, limited number of channels, right? There are some type of applications which are too technology driven, high level of data integrations, complex processes, reduced STPs, multitude of different channels on which it is required, right? And those goes far bottom on the left hand side in the type of applications that you are seeing here, right? But what the message here on this particular slide is, as you go down with respect to increased complexity, and the different types of complex integrations that you may need, you see that the most favorite use cases is right at the top, where there are applications which are business need driven, where there is a reduced amount of integration complexity. A citizen developer can just pick it up like this and run a standalone use case very easy, right? That's where low code, no code platforms can be self-sufficient to on their own to be built by a citizen developer. As you go down and the complexity creeps in terms of the multiple integrations, multiple channels, then you will see a mix of low code, no code platforms, joining hands with, let's say, a workflow automation tool or a business process management tool. You'd see low code, no code platforms, sitting on top or complementing enterprise foundational systems like the Salesforces, the Oracle apps of the world, right? You have the COTS also coming in, right? So you'll have those pieces coming in as you go down in this entire type of application list, right? And that's where you will need more and more IT developers when the integrations get complex, right? But at least for the first half, the top half of the entire funnel, I think citizen developer definitely makes a lot of sense. So that's our view on how we are seeing customers perceive, and how it's making sense for citizen development, at least in these type of applications. But all this is fine. How do you go about it, right? How do you basically go and adopt low code, no code transformation, right? And if you honestly ask, my opinion, it's very simple, right? There needs to be a right use case, and there needs to be a right platform. For the right use case, you need to do the right level of application assessment, understand what's your application inventory, slice and dice that application inventory across multiple parameters. It could be the technology debt, it could be the the end of life that the technology might be coming very soon for, it could be the short-term and long-term vision of the enterprise. You need to basically evaluate all of that along with the business impact to arrive at the right set of prioritized application use cases. Once you do that, you move to the right and you basically see the whole platform fitment and the platform assessment. For these use cases, given my application technology landscape, given my IT footprint, what should be the right platforms, right? And you can see different platforms. You can basically do a grading mechanism with a kind of an assessment like exercise, wherein which you see, okay, for these set of use cases, I may need a platform which gives me 1, 2, 3, 4 parameters, and we'll talk about some of those in terms of what is the right platform recommendation for a given set of application use cases, given the organizational strategy and the IT footprint there, right? So application assessment and platform fitment would I broadly classified as the two big items that you need to consider before getting a head start on a low code no code platform. From a TCS standpoint, we have assessment frameworks which we have built as an offering to basically do both these in a sequence, right? So basically, if there is a customer of TCS who has basically not done the application assessment and prioritize them, we help them use our assessment framework and do that. And from a platform fitment perspective, also we help them take the pick and choose the right platform there. And that said, this is a glimpse of what an application prioritization could look like, right? Where you're showing a grid and a map, saying that if I have about 10 different applications in my, let's say, IT ecosystem, and for those applications there is a certain level of business impact that it brings in terms of what kind of value it basically can be enabled from a business standpoint. And then there is an urgency, which is basically your technology getting obsolete, or the end of life approaching very soon, stuff like that. And the size of the bubble by itself shows the graded score, right? So basically see by urgency, by business impact, what is the score? And this will let you tell, this chart will give you a glimpse of what are those top 2 or 3 applications which has the maximum business impact and the highest urgency, which you can basically pick up for your transformation, right? So that could be your sweet spot which you can start with. And of course, it is also a mix of from other aspects of what's your funding, what kind of future strategy you have from a business standpoint that will go in basically selecting. But this should give you a good head start in terms of how do you pick up or prioritize your right set of applications. So what? You have all of this information, you have the application assessment, you have the platform fitment strategy, you have created a prioritized list of use cases. but it's still not done until you give the customer's business context in perspective, right? And the way TCS does is it's bringing the whole business 4.0, which is our thought leadership framework, into an action in driving this transformation. What it essentially means is saying that you're looking at, you don't look at a platform, you look at a journey. You do the right customer value discovery, right? You use design thinking as a vehicle to understand the personas. What are their journeys, touch points, what are their pain points, right? From once you have shortlisted those pain points, you understand the day in the life of a persona. The TCS digital store ecosystem, which by the way complements very nice with any low code no code platform, right? And the out of the box capabilities that they bring, right? Low code no code platforms give you that entire foundation or a canvas to build apps at that particular pace. But TCS digital store can add a lot of out of the box services, can bring a lot of out of the box solutions, capabilities on top of a low code no code platform, seamlessly integrate and further accelerate that journey. The whole point is, if there is something which is already available, right, within the TCS digital store ecosystem or a part of our coin ecosystem, some other partner who might have built a particular functionality, we don't need to reinvent the wheel to accelerate the journey transformation for our customer, right? We can use that capability as is and integrate with the low code no code platform, make it available to the customer in very, very minimal time. That's where the whole innovation part of the thing comes from a TCS digital store standpoint. And once you have done the right customer value discovery, once you have understood the TCS digital store component and what solutions are relevant to transform the journey which you have identified in the customer value discovery, then it's all about making it real, right? The first two are more of the art of possible with the why and the what. The last one is all about the how, and how do I make it real, the art of real, the art of practical, right? Which is the TCS melting pot ecosystem, which is basically saying, what is the data plumbing, what are the integrations, what are the microservices that I need to build, what are the data fabric that is required to basically transform this and make it real for our customers, right? And integrate with low code no code platforms. That's the whole construct with which we are approaching this entire journey transformation using low code no code platforms for our customers, right? And we have done it at multiple places. I want to quickly give you a glimpse of some of them, right, which has led to some transformational changes. I spoke about some of the use cases in the initial part of my whole pitch, which talks about contact center transformation, which talks about agent and advisor ecosystem. But just to give you a representative example, for a contact center transformation initiative within a life insurance company, we have seen how the whole agent desktop being built on a low code platform has helped improve the customer satisfaction by about 20%, right, on the basis points. We have seen 3x enhanced agent experience based on the survey and the feedback, and most of it was being done by citizen developers, right? So and from a functionality perspective, we are bringing in AI assisted workflows. We are bringing in the best of user experience to basically transform the agent's day in a life from a contact center perspective. Likewise, for another asset and wealth management firm, we have had their case management workflow transformed completely with an STP kind of a situation, which is straight through processing. More than we got about 30% reduction in the overall cycle time because of us enhanced straight through processing that we could find there, right? In an agent and advisor ecosystem, for a life insurance company, the whole production book roles or the lead management systems that they have, we were able to do it completely using a no code platform here. And there was a 5 times application development acceleration that we were able to achieve, and in very, very minimal time. In fact, I would say that we rolled that application out in less than 6 weeks. So it was the application for the prospects to applicant conversion. It was more of a self-service based application, standalone, minimal number of complexities in integration, but very transformational in terms of the business outcomes, right? Those are the use cases where you find the sweet spot. And of course, from a corporate function perspective, on HR and finance side, we leveraged another low code no code platform to get about more than 40%. So basically, we used their 40% of the entire development was done by citizen developers. We integrated with their foundational HR and financial platforms, but the whole idea was to transform that corporate function with the best-in-class insights from a data perspective. So a lot of data migration was involved there, but low-code, no-code played a role in accelerating that whole transformation in that space as well. So friends, this is what I wanted to talk to you about today in the low-code, no-code space. I'm sure you got some level of insights from this conversation. I would like to, leave you with a thought, as to looking at this, where do you think today you are in the low code, no code journey? Still in the assessment phase, still in the platform selection phase, or have you already started working to generate some business transformation outcomes? Looking forward to more such conversations, and thank you everyone. Bye-bye.
It's just wonderful to have her here to talk about something that I know she's very passionate about. So let me introduce you to Anastasia Mishkova. Hey, Anna.
Hi, Eric. Hi, thank you.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good. And finally, it's time for me to talk, because I've been waiting for this moment and share my passion. As you perfectly mentioned, this is exactly what I'm passionate about, and I'm happy to be here.
Excellent, excellent. Well, without further ado, why don't I turn the floor over to you, and I'll let you begin your presentation.
Oh, thank you very much.
All right, thanks.
So guys, then, hi everyone again. So today we'll talk a little bit about how are we going to transform this implementation of our enterprise application if we have only 12 weeks, right? So I wish we could talk more than 40 minutes about this topic, but let's try to squeeze in our journey into this, our 12-week journey into this limited time that we have. So, of course, this is not your first day on the marathon, so you probably already know what the low code is about. But for many years, as you know, organizations, they just were limited in buying a software that was that contained a predefined set of features, functionality, objects, and processes, and the organizations, they just didn't know what to do except contact their vendor and spend enormous amount of money and time trying to customize existing features or add new features, which sometimes end up in moving, for those people, moving back to spreadsheets. And in order to eliminate this gap between heavily customized systems and Excel files, and to combine the possibility of the systems to be customized and impossibility of Excel to be customized by end users, low-code technologists exist. So a little bit of basic about this. So it actually helps in employing a low-code technology on your side internally as a part of your architecture helps to reduce development time. This 70% is an average for our projects, and comparing to what you have at the very beginning when you just start the project from scratch, this is where the number comes from. Here with the low-code technology, you actually get something already, some core, some basics you can work with, customize, develop, add new features, adjust those that already exist, and to fill your needs. There's no need with the low-code technology to hire a dedicated team of experts who are web developers. If we are talking about here we're talking about a web application which will be available for you wherever you are, from your phone or from the web browser, it doesn't matter. The most important is that low-code technologies, they allow you to keep all the knowledge within your IT team. So no need to hire new experts, right? And of course, some of the things finally available to end users. There is no need to ask every time a vendor or wait till the ticket will be processed by the help desk team when they set up some dashboards, reports. All of this now available to end users, and that's exactly what is the benefit of a low-code system. So let's start our journey. Of course, I'm skipping this part where you spend months, weeks on selecting the right tool for you. And we just talk about, we'll talk about only the journey, the actual implementation journey. But of course, make sure that when you select a technology, it fits your needs. Because if it doesn't, then it doesn't matter how many perfect and qualified and experienced people you have, it just doesn't matter because it doesn't fit your needs. You need to develop more and customize more things and add more. So make sure that the tool just fit it. So when you finally got that tool, the right tool that you need, make sure to define your goals, of course. Be specific when you're working on that. Work on find your team. You need to make sure that your team is there for you to deliver what you need. Of course, without the team, if you start trying to find a team when you already started the implementation, then it just doesn't make sense again. So when you work on the project, it's also when you deliver this application, it's a project. So what you need to have, you need to define methodology that you're going to use in order to implement this project. And of course, build a timeline, work with those, show it to people, show it to your employees, to your end users who are going to use the tool and who are going to expect it. Let's talk a little bit about defining your goals. Most of you are probably business owners, so you probably already know how it works in real life and how to set them up. But I wanted to talk a little bit about this because it is important. You really need to focus on defining clear goals and be realistic. Don't try to lie to yourself and don't try to come up with something that just doesn't make sense, right? We love saying that our goals needs to be smart, of course. So be specific, right? What do you want to accomplish? What actions do you want to take in order to deliver this? What are you going to use in order to measure your success? So this needs to be embedded into your goals. Ask yourself, is that goal is achievable? So we have here 12 weeks as a timeline, right? And try to think of whether the number of the customizations and integrations that are going to be put into the backlog, are they actually achievable within 12 weeks timeline? Have you got this preliminary confirmation from your vendor, from your implementation team? And I know this slide is full of questions, but that's true. That's what you do when you work with goals. You set them out clearly and realistic, right? You also, let's say, use an example. When you try to set up something as a goal like reduce customer churn, then this probably not really specific, hardly measurable, but what do you use, right, to identify what exactly, whether achieved it or not? So if you try to be more specific, then try to set up something like reduce the churn by 5% by the end of this quarter. And then with the use of the technologies, let's say a CRM system that you set up, you can use that technology to measure and see the results. One more additional thing that you work with when you set up your goals, of course, and when you start working on the implementation of the project, when you're actually trying to identify what is going to be a scope of a project, try to work with your people, with your employees and management team, with everyone who is going to be involved not only into implementation, but also in the actual usage of the tool. By the end, talk to them. Ask them what they don't like right now, what they want to improve. what is not working for them. So all of these things and all of these pain points, all of these issues will be reported, list them in, let's create a share space for everyone to share their pain points so that people could vote for that in order not to process enormous amount of data. So consider that your management is going to work with the tool as well. So talk to them as well. What do they want to achieve? Everything that you get from people, of course, needs to be prioritized and needs to be reviewed and analyzed, because there may be not problems only in the actual business processes that you have, but maybe something wrong with people, the way they approach the work. But this is a different topic. But focus on something, extract the data that will help you to set up that tool, and that will help you then eventually to improve the processes, to optimize the workflow, to decrease the speed of processing some documents or information that is getting from the outside of the organization. So get into the team, right? Before you start the implementation. This is important to work with people whom you trust, of course. And when you select, so let's say you can be the project sponsor. Project sponsor is the person who is responsible, who owns the resources, the project, the budget, the timeline, everything. So this person can, and I suppose it's you. So this person is someone who responsible for the actual change. A project manager will actually report to a project sponsor on the resources, on the budget, on the scope, on the timelines, how is it going, whether we are still on time or not. So project manager is a key person for the team to communicate with the project sponsor, of course, to deliver the data, because you want to make sure that you get all the timely information, not from the team, right? Because the team, they actually, they work on the tasks, they work on the scope, but they're not always focusing on the, let's say, on the timelines and on the budget. So project manager will then help to manage all of these processes internally. So if you start this implementation, if you start this journey, make sure that in addition to a project sponsor who is the owner of the process, who is the owner of this initiative, you also have a project manager who will work on the managing all of these processes. You also will have and should have probably the team of experts who will own the business knowledge. Of course, let's say I can see questions coming, but I really want to finish this slide. So the idea is that project sponsor was the advocate of this whole initiative, right? But you wanted to automate different business processes within your team, like within your company, let's say service and sales. And you as a project sponsor, of course you can try, but it's better if you delegate this to someone who actually works with the system, who knows the processes, who owns the details of the actual workflows. And if it's someone, it's not necessarily someone from a management team. It can be your most experienced user or super user, power user, call him whatever you want, but someone who knows all of the details of the actual implementation, who can share and own the business idea. So that's why you need the dedicated team of business owners or business processes owners, or just easy subject matter experts. And for the implementation of even if it's low-code technology, you still need to employ some technical leaders, some technical teams. Let's say for the implementation team, you can have business analysts. Those people are processing business requests they are transforming them into the technical design or technical documentation, or just start working on the tool per se. And data analysts, they can be responsible for data migration and proper data cleansing to make sure that when you transfer or migrate data from one tool or many tools, which is usually can be the reason why you decided to transform, to make this digital transformation and add a new tool in your architecture, is because you have too many tools to manage the data. So you get someone who managed all of this aspects of your business and making sure that the data is properly cleansed and migrated into the system. And you may also have developers, so low code may still require some little development. It doesn't mean a lot. It just means that there may be some complex customizations or processes that are far beyond what the tool can give you, because there might be some limitations. So you might have a need in developer. And of course, for let's say CRM admin, this is the team member, or many of them. It depends on the number of workflows that you automate and number of people that you employ. But CRM admin can be actually someone from the implementation team who can then communicate with end users and transfer all of the requests into the let's say into the backlog, and then working on the actual implementation for the team. So let me look at the questions, because I really wonder what is happening there. And I know that
sure.
I know, Eric, we agreed to discuss them later, but I'm really keen to learn what is happening there.
That's perfectly fine. I can help facilitate these for you, Anna. So the first question is, which business processes should be transformed first?
Okay, so that's a good one. Let's say, I would say that it depends on what is your business about, right? What is most critical for you? I would go with the approach of quick wins, because if we have this short timeline, let's talk about this limitation of 12 weeks that we are trying to squeeze all of the, let's call it minimum viable product or whatsoever. So try to customize or try to automate something that will bring value right away, that will demonstrate the value for your people, for your management, if they don't trust in the tool yet, or to your users, because you have many of them, and if they're not happy or complaining a lot about it, you can show this small automated processes just step by step, and then increase or add new functionality on top of it in small iterations, which is an advantage, of course, for the team. And you will see the result, and people will be happy, because it's just happening very fast for them. So they should be extremely happy, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. It goes back to your point about defining goals, right? Understanding what you're hoping to get out of this, and then that will determine which business processes should be transformed first. Excellent. So we've got another question. I know our chat team had done a little bit to answer this, but I'd be interested in getting your feedback. We discussed the question reads: we discussed the same question of every transformation strategy meeting. What department should lead digital transformation projects or transformation projects? HR, IT, sales? Do you have any advice?
Okay, so giving an advice is not always a good idea, but I can give some recommendations based on the experience and based on what we see, what actually works. And there is a statistic, by the way, for that, but I don't remember the numbers. But when we work on the transformation, it's better when you have a dedicated team member. So let's call it, usually there is even a department, and not the one that already there. Because then you need to get one person with one responsibilities and set of responsibilities and skills, and put that person to work on the transformation strategy. Is it fair? I don't think so. So sometimes organizations, they employ chief digital officer, who works on this transformation in addition to chief information officer, because then we have this dedicated team member who's actually working on changes, because IT team, they support current infrastructure so that everything is properly set and optimized to work in a better manner. But a digital transformation team or member will work on that. You have to work on this transformation strategies and making sure that everything improving, and maybe some processes that are still not automated can be moved to a digital space, right? So that's the idea behind this. So let's then pause here and jump back to a presentation. But that was a nice part. Right. So we defined a team, and now we start our actual scoping. So let's say we call it a scoping, you can call it a discovery, whatever you call it. What is the most important is to make sure that you're not jumping straight away into the actual implementation, that you don't try to use those pain points as the actual call to actions. It's not how it works. You need to clearly define what exactly you are automating, what you work on, what are the use cases and scenarios that you're going to automate. Because hearing people complaining about the, let's say my files are not optimized because this is just a paper, right? This is a notebook. Of course, it's not a task. What do you want to achieve? So this is what you do. You create a clear use cases. You describe them in a manner that is readable by a technical team. So that's where you have this work of business analyst analyzing the actual scope, whether it's a list of pain points, whether it's just a list of complaints, whatever you call it. The most important is to make sure that you create a clear use cases and scenarios for your team to work on. And when you have this list, it's a huge backlog. And in most cases, it's just happening sometimes that you create an enormous, the huge list of items that you need to work on. And when you estimated them, you see that it's more than 12 weeks. Well, you decided this to have a 12 weeks, so be flexible, and it's absolutely normal. Identify the critical points that will help you to go live in 12 weeks. That's the idea behind this. Limits of time frame, prioritize those items, and would be good to map actually those pain points with the features that are going to be delivered, so that people could see when something is delivered. And the idea behind this is that you keep your team motivated. They see that you are actually working on their items. They might not realize that when the use case implemented and it is created for a technical team member, they might not realize this is exactly what they're asked for. So that's why map it, put the priorities for it, and those lists that is out of priority, so let's say they're low priorities or nice to have features somewhere below the list. And if you want to show people that this is not forgotten and it will be actually delivered at some point, show them this list and let them know why it's not there yet, why it's not the highest priority, whatever reason you select or whatever prioritization technique you select in order to prioritize your items, communicate to people. So this is this is a part of a change management procedure. You don't want to ignore people who are going to use the tool, because if they are not happy, if they don't think that you hear them, because that was the idea behind identifying those pain points, right? You want to be heard. If I put something on a list because my manager asked me to put this on a list and he promised me that it will be delivered, so I expect this to be delivered, and it's not making me happy if it's not, if at some point he just tell me, oh, sorry, it was deprioritized, it's not on the list anymore. So that's not how it works. Explain it to people. It's a part of a communication. It's a part of work on this digital transformation that you need to be doing. Clearly set up your application architecture, why it is important, because you want to ask yourself on this stage, on the first week of your implementation, on this discovery session, how do I want my business to look like in 3 years? I know it's, let's say 2 years, 5 years, whatever. But the idea behind this is that you don't want to put in place an architecture that is not scalable, that is not that does not fit your needs even in 2 weeks. You know, you never know. Maybe people decide to change something, they try out the tool, and they realize that it's not that convenient to use that tool. So then you probably decide to try to redo something, and that will require a lot of time. So make sure that the architecture is put in place in the right manner. Make sure that you know that every of your use cases has an acceptance criteria you work with, so that you know that it is ready when all of these criteria met. It is important, otherwise you just don't know why you are doing something. And it's important for a team because they are just not delivering something, just implementing a feature. They know what business goals it has behind it, and also they know when to consider it's completed, right? Because there should be an end. We know that we have 12 weeks. Why shouldn't we put an end to some feature that we are working on? Confirm what you have implemented. Let's say it's a technical design or a business concept, no matter what you call it, a blueprint document. Confirm it with the key stakeholders. Let's say these are your subject matter experts or your end users. Show them what you are going to work on and agree with them. So that is important to, in order to make sure that we are going to work exactly on what is expected from us. And if you have your own team, and if you're not hiring someone offshore or from a vendor side for the tool that you have, train your implementation team. Before you start this implementation, make sure that they know what they're going to work on. And let's say you can start already before the scoping session starts. You can start earlier. It depends on a tool. With the low-code technologies, it's usually pretty much easy. You just you could just pass the exam after the 8-hour training, and that's it. So that's the benefit of this low-code technologies. So train your team if you want them to work on that tool. Make sure that this is not there's no learning curve for them. They're not learning while they're doing. But if they are, at least they're not, when you train them, at least they're not wasting too much time on learning how to do that. So make sure that the team is ready. Right, a couple of useful tips before we get into the actual implementation. As I said on the previous slide, communicate with your team. In this case, we're talking about the implementation team, because you want to make sure that they, whatever they are doing, they want to be appreciated, because that's one thing. And the other thing is that if they are doing something and not getting the feedback from you as project sponsor or end users, it might happen that something they're delivering, it's not delivered on in a right manner, or you realized too late that something goes wrong, but you never delivered it to a team. And if you're just there for the team, let's say once per month, then it's also not very useful for them. They know that they cannot address their questions to you because you are not there for them. And just no matter what border you put between you and implementation team, and the reason behind this, if you don't talk to them, then you put your project in a risk. So if they have questions, please make sure to answer them. Please make sure to talk to them and tell them that you appreciate what they are doing, because if they're motivated, trust me, they'll start working on it faster. And share your feedback early. I said that on the previous item, but that's crucial. Just once again, if you see something is not going wrong, don't think that you will offend team if you tell them already before they complete the sprint or finish the sprint, or before they finish the feature. If you know that it's not working properly, tell them right away, and it's better to work on that as early as possible. Involving end users on the early stages. This is the key to success of every implementation, no matter how big your implementation is. We are talking here about 12 weeks. Then it's extremely important to make sure that your users are there. So what we did at the very beginning, right? How we involved them, we took their pain points and we start working with them. And then we can involve them as a key stakeholders to confirm the requirements with them. It doesn't mean that you have to confirm with every person, but select a power user as your subject matter expert, and that's it. And then you can involve them on a demo sessions and showing them the progress. If you're not trying to go live in 4 weeks, but you actually going to wait for 12 weeks, then especially it is important to keep them involved at least on the demo sessions. If there is no need to work on some sessions, but work on some requirements anymore, make sure that they are involved into the demo sessions and involved into the testing as well. We also recommend, while we are developing a project in short time frame, and especially when it is an application for an enterprise organization, then use agile framework no matter what it is. We in Creatio use Scrum. It works for us, and for a lot of companies it works. For FBI it works. So why shouldn't it work for you? Welcome changes, of course. Be open to changes and know that they will happen. And don't try to persist, because this is something inevitable. And if you're not ready for them, then it's probably not a good idea to start the actual implementation at all, because the changes will happen. That's the idea of involving users, because you want to see that whether we're moving in the right direction or not. So that's why you need to know that the changes will happen and you have to be ready. Motivate your team. Of course, I've mentioned this already several times, but it is important for their well-being, for the success of the project, because it may happen that sometimes it is needed just to stay a little bit longer on the feature, to work a little bit longer, or maybe on the weekend. It's not required, of course, but if this is happening, if your team is motivated, they will do that because they want this. It's not because they are obligated or they must stay and work on weekends. It's just because they believe in what they are doing. And this is not only about the project team, and also motivate your end users by involving them. Of course, they'll then use this tool, so they need to know that it works for them and it's developed for them. So finally, we are on this execution phase. We already captured all of our requirements, and we're now ready to start the actual execution. So what we do here is that in order to make sure that our 12 weeks is still a possible and feasible deadline, in your team, make sure to parallel some workflows, some automation parts. For that, we can split, let's say, service and sales on different team members. It will help you, by the way, on further stages when you have when it's already live, the project is live, your product is already live, and you have 3 team members working on service, 2 team members working on sales, still, let's say, developing some improvements, and you have a backlog full of features, and then the back request is coming, just something is extremely wrong. So what should you be doing? Because you have different team members that are working on different flows, it's also a benefit for you, as you can see after rollout, is that you can just get one person without disturbing the actual backlog or your plans, and ask that person to fix this. And this will help you to speed up the implementation process. So it's not only something that works for now during the execution phase, but also something that works for later phases. So this is like with a long-term benefits from paralleling some flows. If there is something happening with the priorities, adjust them. And as we already talked about, changes that should be welcomed by you and your team, make sure that project manager updates that plan and shares with everyone. So this adds this transparency and visibility to the actual progress. That's why project manager is important and a key person on a project to manage all of these flows and processes. And don't forget that you need to update the information that you work with, because you have to see where you're going, whether you're moving whether you are moving in the right direction, whether you are still hitting that timeline or not. So this is why you need to have a project manager in place to update the documentation, the information that is available for everyone, and share it with everyone. If you are working using agile framework, then you better have, with a short timeline, regular demo sessions. You have to show the results every 2 weeks, at least, because we still have 12 weeks, right? If you want to show it every week, you might, but usually 2 weeks is a regular time frame for every sprint or iteration. It's enough to fit all of the features that you planned and finish them in a timely manner, and not spend a lot of time on the planning and discussing. Because 2 weeks is a regular time frame. So demonstrate the results to end users, to management, to project stakeholder, if you are not the one. So make sure to demonstrate it. Test the tool from the very beginning till the very end, and even after. What it means by never stop testing is because when you have these phases of testing within the implementation stage, afterwards, when the tool is already live, you test it in order to make sure that that everything works the way you expected, even after all the features has been implemented, and with the highly changeable conditions of working conditions. Test it and prove it that it actually still fits your needs, that it's still appropriate for business requirements, for business environment, because it's changing, and you don't want to end up somewhere at the end of the list of the companies in Forbes. You want to be on top of it. And what you should be doing, try out your tool, make sure that it's working properly and helping to deliver your deliver your business goals and achieve them. And well, let's say this is also kind of a tip, but if you start this huge initiative and you for enterprise organization, and you have only 12 weeks, then make sure the data migration is happening early, not somewhere at the end of your journey. And don't think that it's enough for you to spend 2 days on the data migration. It's not that. You have to check it, test it, and that's why it's better to start doing at the very beginning. And it actually will be useful having the actual data, the real data on the environments, on the dev environments, while you are implementing and testing the tool. Couple of tips with regards to the implementation when that is already in progress, when it's already happening. First thing that you should be doing is make sure to utilize as many out-of-the-box features, items, elements, objects, and processes as possible, because this is exactly the reason of first reason of buying this low-code tool and trying to work on it and use it for automating your workflows. If you selected the right tool, so part of the features will be already there. Of course, in most cases, you'll customize the data model, which is probably inevitable for every company, especially when you are an enterprise organization. But if you are utilizing as many things as possible out of the box, then you will hit this deadline. That's the secret behind this 12 weeks, is that you're not trying to develop, and secret of a low-code tool, that you are not trying to develop everything from scratch. And of course, this is an advantage of a low-code tool. Make sure to document everything and changes and requirements, everything that you work on. If you put this on requirements on the shared storage available for your future team members, then that would mean that if there are some changes in future needed, it's easy to address them, because you can just review the previous notes, requirements, documentation, and understand what you have to be doing in order to deliver this new change, right, and make users happy. And also this documents, let's say documented requirements, they will help you to create your own knowledge base that you can then share with end users. And when they have access to it, that would mean that they now have the answers that they need. Because if they're not sure in some feature, they can read it out, and yeah, that's it. Then it's not only a benefit for a future implementation team or for future changes, but also a benefit for your end users. And that's where this data migration, early data migration, comes handy. When you test the feature, when you share when you assign the testing on the end users, they will provide you with a more relevant feedback when they test everything on a real data. And that's actually what we notice for a lot of times, because we see that they might not notice how good the tool is working, how fast it is working. They're trying to compare the real data to what they saw in the previous tool and their notes and whatever they've been using before. They're trying to compare it and then see whether whether the tool is working or not. This is not exactly what we are, it's not exactly what you as an implementer or as an owner of this initiative want to be focused on, is just on the data quality, right? I mean, for when you test the features. And of course, one also useful tip that we keep forgetting sometimes as an implementation team, not like personally me or my team, it's that sometimes we forget that access rights and users needs to be set up on the very early stages, because users who are testing the tool, they don't realize that they have access to all the data. But then when it comes to the real rollout and you didn't set up access rights, then that's a problem, because wow, then you wasn't ready for that and you forgot about it. So make sure that you have this in place on time. A little bit on how it may happen on the iterative implementation during the execution phase. Let's say you have this 2 weeks iteration and you want to achieve as much things, you want to deliver as many things as possible within that 2 weeks time frame. So you probably will follow some framework, let's say Scrum, and usually the cycle looks like that. So you start with preparation of requirements, you put them in a language that is readable by a technical team from a business users. Then you start working on the customizations, and that doesn't mean that it's just happening step by step. It just means that there are some flows like that inside this iteration. You start the implementation and customization or development if needed, if some complex calculations are there. So you may add a development team member. And as you're ready with all of these items, test it, of course, before transferring to end users. And make sure that all of the features by the end of this cycle are tested by your end users. And for that, make sure that the real data is there, and they'll focus on the actual features. Within the implementation phase, which is still not over, work on the training, prepare it, and identify what is going to be your training approach. Whether you want to have this in e-learning sessions, let's say you created some videos, recorded them, and published them somewhere on some platform dedicated to your team. This can be one of the approaches. This can be an on-site session when your trainers will get two people, where they will be all together in one space, and they will work out on the tasks. You'll have a demo session, and then you have a practical session. So this is the way how the on-site sessions can be set up. Or you can also work online, because of this that is happening, because all of this that is happening in the world. You can actually also try out this option, because you see webinars are working fine and perfect for a lot of companies and organizations, and everyone is, let's say, already ready and open for that. Even if people were not really tech savvy, they are now quite tech savvy and ready to work online. So as you defined your training approach, try to identify the groups of how you are going to train your people, your users. Let's say you can dedicate it, you can split the whole team, your whole organization, per roles or per functional requirements. You can decide on your own. It's just important not to try to educate 100 people by one person at a time. This may be a demo conducted by one person, but then you have to have these small groups working in, or even pairs, working on some tasks, and you have your trainers working with them. It would be also good if you have someone from your, let's say, if this is a team of sales reps, you probably want to someone as a power user to train them, someone from their team whom they trust, who can advocate not only the tool, but can also advocate the processes that are in there. So select someone from your team who can be this power user, who can be a trainer for your team members. And this person then, how to make sure that this person can train others, make sure that this person is involved into the implementation process all the time. So let's say you ask this person a question. This can be a subject matter expert. You involve this person into the demo sessions, into the daily sessions if you have them, in your sprint planning or just planning sessions. And if they see someone like their peer trains them, and sharing their feedback and sharing their expertise and sharing their excitement about the tool, then they will be more open to use that tool, and they will be more happy. And they will see that if that guy could do this, I can also do this, right? We have, let's say, very last 2 weeks of our journey. This is exactly when we are preparing to the actual rollout. Of course, as you can see, we're not showing you here each step of the implementation process, but this is just an overall idea of what is happening during this journey, from the very beginning till it's never-ending story, I must say, but till, let's say, a rollout. So dedicate couple of last weeks, depending on where you are with regards to the requirements you're working on. Dedicate some time to train your users. So you prepared everything on training for the training, identified the approach, identified the team, the groups of people and trainers. So now it's time to actually train them, of course, and try not to overwhelm them, your people, with the information, because having something new, a new tool, is always a struggle for people. even if you've been trying, even if you had the change management procedure in place, it's still tough for them. They just, this is our nature. It's difficult for us to change things. That's why it's better to make sure that you have, let's say, a 2-hour session, 4-hour session, especially if it is online session. It's better not to try to put them in front of computer for 8 hours and try to train them. So yeah, but still important to do this, not during the rollout, not after 12 weeks, but if you are trying to go live in 12 weeks after the very beginning, after the start, then make sure to educate them before you go live. They'll probably share some feedback with you, so you can capture it, you can embed it into the tool. You still have 2 weeks. If you start this training session, they can share their feedback, be open for that again, and work on their feedback. Try to improve the processes, the flows that already embedded into the tool. And of course, you still have some time for bug fixing and polishing. So it also may be useful to freeze some code, freeze some development of new features on week 10, and then work only on the actual implementation. And when it is already live, so there is a moment of celebration, and you already got some champagne, but after that, the real work starts. You need to have the knowledge base, right? We talked about it already. Make sure that your users, your end users, everyone who's using the tool, have access to knowledge base. They can read about the features, about the specifics of the tool in that knowledge base. And especially if you expect them to set up some reports on their own or dashboards on their own, it is especially important to have this knowledge base in place for them to get access anytime they want. Identify your CRM admin. So let's say create a specific email if you don't have it yet for helpdesk.creatio.com, and try to let your users know that every time when they have problem with the tool, or if they're not sure with something, or they clicked something and it disappeared, let them know that they're not there on their own, that they have someone to contact and ask the question and ask for help. And that's what you're going to do when you have this everything in place after the rollout. And yeah, I guess that's the most important. Be open for changes and give them access to the information that they need in any time they need. Make sure that they know where to go in case if they have a problem. So I guess that's it. Thank you.
Very insightful, Anna. That was amazing. We thank you again. This was a very detailed presentation, and I hope that the audience gained some insight on how to manage projects within your own business. All right.
Thank you, Eric.
Thanks, Anna.
Bye then. Bye, everyone.
All right. Bye. Okay, so that brings us to our next session, guys. We will be moving on to our real-life low-code experience. And today we are joined by our esteemed partner, Sayog and Ashwath Narayanan. Will be talking to us about, again, rolling out days, not weeks, not months, but days. Ashwath is a senior consultant and manager of the Creatio practice at Sayog. So welcome, Ashwath, and I'll turn the floor over to you.
Good evening to everyone who's joined this session with us. My name is Ashwath and I'm from Sayog Digital, and I'm super excited to see all of you here virtually again as part of yet another version of Creatio's low-code marathon. At this juncture, I would like to express my gratitude and thanks to Creatio for this lovely opportunity to be with all of you and be able to share a few thoughts from our experience. Before I jump onto my presentation, I would also like to send out a and kind inquiry to all of you and your families, and just want to make sure all of you are safe and well. Let's quickly jump onto my presentation and see what I'm here to present today. The moment we talk about low code, the first thing that comes into our mind is about, okay, it's low code, it's simple to do, so it shouldn't take a lot of time for any application to be built. And that's my topic for today. How do we go about rolling out applications in a matter of days or a couple of weeks, or even a few months that we could take? It's still a very huge improvement in terms of rolling out applications from our traditional sense of custom applications, which probably take, a lot of months or even years to roll out. So I'm here to share a few experiential insights into, how this can be achieved in our perspective and in our experience. A quick introduction about myself. I'm Ashwath Narayanan. I'm a senior consultant and a practice manager for Creatio implementations at Sayog Digital. I have worked on Creatio projects for over 4 years now, and my responsibilities lie around, making sure of end-to-end, successful implementations with, and closely working with global partners and customers, making sure, the implementations are working fine. So I have been with Sayog for over 5 years now, and with the Creatio team for over 4 years. And at Sayog Digital, our experiences have been very, very rich, and thanks to Creatio for those opportunities. Our expertise lies around, enterprise level implementations, which usually involve larger scopes, bigger user bases, and also most importantly, having external system integrations of, with complexities involved around that. We've done more than 18 projects till now that cuts across, various industries, anywhere from marketing to telecom to, government organizations, banking, financial sectors, and across geographies, anywhere from, the end of west end of the United States to the eastern end of Australia. And our team at Sayog is one of the, largest globally certified Creatio teams of more than 30 people in it. Wonderful use cases that we have worked on, anywhere from, Creatio's out of box CRM use cases like, end-to-end sales automation and any ordering, ticketing management systems like things. And we have also had experiences in working on very custom, deep UI custom related use cases. We've had wonderful experiences in integrations with external systems, a variety of ERPs, legacy systems, etc. And also had experiences around data migration of, systems that are going to be retired or in the verge of being obsolete. One thing that is common to all of these projects or experiences is that the goals are very clearly stated, right? The customer goals are very agnostic of what business or industry they are in the context of when they come to a platform like this. They want to be able to achieve end-to-end automation as much as possible in their processes. They want to be able to have an enhanced UI and a UX for the users. They want to have an application that is scalable and maintainable at all points of time, preferably with an in-house team, and then be able to have seamless cross integrations with all the other systems that they have in their environment, have the flexibility of being able to migrate data in and out of Creatio, and also have a catalyzed user training and adoption, because that's the real success metric for any project. While these goals are really elicited, one goal that is probably implicitly put as part of the project plan is that they want to be able to achieve all these goals in a shorter span of time. While it is definitely achievable, there are a lot of soft aspects. While the low code of the platform gives us the technical expertise and the technical framework to be able to really achieve things at a faster pace, there are also a lot of softer aspects and things that are more real in terms of in the way the processes have been made and the approach to the whole management of the project. At different points of time, there are softer aspects that need to be trimmed, and that's what really achieves this for us. I'm reminded of a very short story that I would like to share at this point of time before I move on to my next slide. Is a story of two woodcutters who are given the same axe and asked to cut a tree. And what happens is one of the cutters is able to cut the tree at a much faster rate than the other one. And when they asked him for a reason, he said he spent the first 60%, 70% of the time just sharpening the axe that is, that is going to fit into the wood's nature, rather than directly taking a top-down approach and then cutting the tree blindly. So the process and the thought process behind it being addressed at the start, even before starting the project, is really important. And that's what I'm going to talk about. Three aspects that need to be nailed down at the start of the project itself, as part of the kickoff of the project itself, so that there are no surprises at a later point. There are no reasons why there needs to be slips in the project timeline, and there is minimal mistakes that are made because these things have been considered at the start itself. The first aspect I would like to cover as part of this is the functional and technical solutioning. This is probably the first step into any project where the design is put together, having all the functional and technical requirements in place. One major challenge that we face here is to tie all ends together. There is a data migration end where data needs to be migrated from any of the legacy systems that is going to be probably retired soon. Then there are integrations with the environment systems that are available in the customer's environment. Then there is the Creatio piece, which gives us a lot of out-of-box capabilities in terms of its CRM nature, or out-of-box capabilities in terms of its BPM nature. And then there is and definitely going to be customizations on top of all of this in order to kind of tie all of this together. But in order to be able to tie all of these together, the major learnings that we have had is that, one, the requirement, the more clear the requirement is at the start of the project, the more smoother is it in order to be able to tie this together. Because the requirement from a functional and technical standpoint, from the users, from the IT teams, from the business teams, all of these things need to be really clear in their thought process and their sight as to what they want. And being able to have that clarity at the start of the project really helps. Second is with respect to the ownership of these aspects as well, right? While the implementer, we are able to bring in the Creatio expertise and other things, we need someone from the customer side also to take ownership of the solution and the architecture, because they understand their business and their technical environment the best. And some keys to success to nail this down really is to take some help, leverage from any platform where a clear review and traceability mechanism can be put in place to have good control over the requirements. Because this is the first part, and if there are leakages here, then it's going to have a cascading effect over every other stream of work that's going to happen, starting from design to development to testing to rollout, deployment. All these places are going to get leaked, and obviously the overall timeline as well. So leveraging platforms like Jira, which gives us confluences, which gives us abilities to run sprint, abilities to have hierarchical detailing of features and functionalities, and have clear ownership assignees to be able to sign off on them and have all details captured. That really helps. The second thing is, as part of solution, using plugins and connectors again has a direct impact on the timeline. For one, we don't need to build anything from scratch. That gives us an obvious advantage. Second being, all plugins and connectors that are there on marketplace are already verified and run through a strict process by Creatio to make sure they're optimized code. Their design is in sync with Creatio's capabilities, and quality wise also it's kind of covered for. So this gives us an advantage that it's already vetted through a fairly good process, and we can rest assured, be sure that we can just take it, plug it, and play with it. So that gives us an advantage there. The second item where really we need to pay attention is the project management aspect. Although project management is something that runs through the project, at the start of the project, we need to align on a certain things with respect to project management. The challenges there are, one is with respect to adherence to schedule. While we will have, as vendors, teams that are dedicated to this project, from a customer standpoint, they might still be involved in their day-to-day business while they are still trying to help us out with the requirements. In that stage, what happens is, especially when there is some core development or there is solutioning happening in place, the overall schedule needs to be aligned between the customer and the vendor in terms of their deliverables. And this kind of becomes a huge challenge at a lot of a lot of times. The second is with respect to addressing IT versus business disconnects at the customer end in terms of their expectations, in terms of what is capable in the timeline that we are trying to look at, in terms of a solution, in terms of people's availabilities, etc., etc. So our learnings is that we need to first of all understand that every customer has a very specific IT or an SDLC process, and in that life cycle they will have their own best practices, their own, and we need to understand that and make sure our approach to the whole project management is kind of aligned with that. The second is with respect to responsibilities and ownerships, what we call it as a RACI. We need to clearly call who is responsible and accountable for various streams of work, starting from solutioning to testing. And the keys to success here is that, as I said, this expectation management in terms of responsibilities and in terms of adherence to schedule, all these things really give us a very clear picture. We'll know what are the documentation, how does the customer document things, because he would already know their specific IT processes. So documentation in terms of development, what are the code standards they develop, how do they do source collaboration, how are they expecting the code to be assigned, what is their repository, blah blah, all those things in place. Then the testing strategy in terms of how they would like us to test it, in what way they want us to release it, and how all these things at the start of the project clearly have an expectation set, and that makes the end goal also as realistic as possible, and there are no surprises on the way. The second is with respect to risk mitigations. We will obviously know during the project that there are certain risky aspects of the solution or certain risky aspects around the timeline in being adhering to it. So immediately talking about that openly without any holding back, and then giving all the facts, putting it in place, and then collaboratively coming up with a mitigation plan also really helps. Third option, or the third approach aspect that I would like to cover, is with respect to the user training and adoption. We all know that any CRM application is probably the toughest in terms of making the users getting adopted to it, for its own obvious reasons. Users being on the field and other things, their priorities are different. So asking them to come log into an application and actually enter data is probably considered a little unproductive, considering the rigor with which their sales work happens. But the challenges are actually different. Although the user training and adoption kind of comes at the end of this project, talking about it at the start is really important, because we need the challenges that are there is, again, as I said, that the teams are not as dedicated in terms of time. We are fully dedicated to a project, but they will have their own businesses to run and then help us with that as well. So availability of teams for feedback, clarifications, and training is a challenge, and that needs to be aligned on at the start. And then the second part is around driving user adoption. So although they might be available, they might get trained, them actually getting adopted to the system and starting to use it is another challenge. Learnings that we have had is getting on ground, talking to the users, and understanding their challenges on the ground at the start of the project itself really has a huge impact on the design that's put together, because each user might have a different problem, and we need to kind of look at it collectively and see how to put the design in place. Second important aspect learning that we've had is the importance of non-functional requirements, which are usually discussed probably in the middle or the later part of the project and not at the start. But understanding how many people, how many rollouts we are looking at, how many people are we rolling it out to, what is the traffic that is expected, all these things also have a clear impact on the final output, because at the end of the day, the users want to use an enhanced UI. They also want a great performing application where they're not waiting for pages to load, blah blah. So the hardware, software, everything needs to be put in place at the start itself. Keys to success here, one thing that we have clearly understood is that having periodic demos with the users from the start of the project, and we might have only a few sprints or milestones, but having weekly or bi-weekly demos for even work in progress items gives a very clear picture to them on what they are trying to expect. And in case there are any disconnects in terms of expectation, course corrections will be very easy, and we will not be too far ahead or too far into the implementation place. That really helps. The second is with respect to training itself, instead of directly jumping into the use case of the platform, actually giving them a bit of platform training, getting them comfortable with the navigation of the platform, where each thing lies, what each thing means, where do they find each thing, giving them a generic approach to the platform and then bringing the business sense into it really helps, because they understand the business the best. We can never beat that knowledge, but where we can really help them is to understand the platform from a generic standpoint, so that they apply their own business aspects into it and then give us feedback or be able to use it. That really drives user adoption to a different level. So these are some of the aspects that we in our experience have found to be really, really effective and really helped in reducing the project timeline. And as I said, while there are technical aspects of it that the platform gives in terms of its low code capabilities, these are some of the soft aspects that really need to be nailed down at the start of the project itself, so that the main reasons around leakages, surprises, any risks that are responsible for the slippage in timeline are kind of mitigated at the start itself, and then the project goes on smoothly. That's all I had to share today with all of you. Thank you all so much for spending the time with me today. I really appreciate that. I'm open to taking any questions or suggestion at this point of time. And I would like to again thank Creatio for this wonderful opportunity on behalf of myself and Sayog. Have a very, very safe and be well, all of you. And I hope you all enjoy the rest of the low code marathon also happening over the next one. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ashwath. Another phenomenal presentation. Excellent. Well, we're moving right along through day 4 here, folks. And it's my pleasure to introduce you to Kirill Krylov. He is one of our technical trainers here at Creatio, and he'll be covering off on some of the ready-to-use applications that we've collected here in 2021. So Kirill, I will turn it over to you, sir.
Hi, my name is Kirill and I'm pleased to be here. In today's talk, we're going to talk about ready-made applications that you can grab off the marketplace, install it on your instance, and get going within 10 to 15 minutes. Let's get right into demo. So I have an instance of Creatio that I have recently obtained from Creatio.com. You can go on Creatio.com and ask for one. It's absolutely free and you can try it for 14 days. Let's log on. After having logged in, you will be greeted with the new page that shows you some important dashboards. Now here's my problem. Let's assume that I have a bunch of opportunities and they're all presented to me here, and what I would like to do is, first of all, I would like to see them in a slightly different way. Now, in order for me to show them in a slightly different way, I can use these dashboards, but that's not exactly what I want. I want to show this Kanban report. Now you could tell how easy it is to understand where my opportunity is, how easy it is for me to move them around, to disqualify, or do some other common tasks. Now the application that allows me to perform this action is called Kanban. Now let's go ahead and see how we can install them, so I can walk you through the installation process and then configuration. In order for you to install the application, you have to go into System Designer first, find the Applications section, and click on Installed Applications. I have already installed one, but I'll show you how to install yet another one. I'm going to say Add Application because I am in pre-production environment. I will be installing it from File. Now, I can choose to install something off Marketplace, in which case you will be redirected to a marketplace where you can find the application to install. For example, here I would like to find something called Refresh. I'm going to search for it and I'm going to click on this application that I would like to install and click on Install, go into Packages, Agree, and click on Download. Once you download the package, you will be able to install it. Let's go ahead and install this application. I'm going to now say Install from Marketplace or Install from File. I'm going to select the file to install, and my file is somewhere in my downloads, packages. And I'm going to spoon feed that file that I just installed. It's going to be called and refresh. The application is going to take some time to install. It's going to upload necessary files and then go through rebuilding process, and it might take some time. Just be patient here. Now on the right hand side, you will see that the system is telling us that it's safe to close this page, and whenever the application is done installing, it will be just available for you. Now when I'm installing something for the first time, I always want to make sure that I get a green log, meaning that everything installed correctly and I can start consuming my application. I suggest waiting for the installation log to appear every time you're installing something for the first time. Now, if you've installed it in the past, then obviously you can just close this page and wait for the app to show up, but in the meantime, just sit tight. We can download installation log and we can take a look at what happened, but that's not quite what we're interested in. Now, after the application has been installed, we can just simply refresh this grid and take a look, and I can see that yes, my app was truly installed. Now I know what this application is doing, and it's offering me a refresh button, and since all the changes have been made, I just simply need to refresh my page to see the effect. The effect will be visible as soon as we go in the grid. For that, you will get this little green button. So what we've done just now is we install the application, and the same approach will be applied to essentially all other applications that you want to install for Marketplace. Marketplace applications provide us a variety of tools that we can just simply drop into Creatio and start consuming them immediately. Kanban report was one such application. You just install it, and then in your opportunities, cases, or wherever you have stages, you will get this little button, and this little button will allow you to move things around. Now let's take a look at another application that I have installed for myself, and this has to do with the Excel reports. Now when I followed the installation instruction, I've placed this Excel reports section straight here into my Studio Workplace. Now this Excel report allows me to configure some export options that are not available from a default application. Let me give you an example. We're going to go into our sales one more time, and inside sales I would like to go into opportunities. In here I would like to configure a grid, or I would like to configure how I can export some records. So for example, if I go into actions and click export to Excel, I will get whatever I can see on the list right now. If I open this file, and whatever the information is visible here on the grid will be available to me. But what if I want to customize it? And what if I want to put some different columns here? Let's try to configure it. Well, for example, I can go into View, select Fields to Display, and in here I can configure the fields that I'm interested in. So for example, I can add from an opportunity, I can add, let's say, product or opportunity product. And from this column, I can choose what I want. So let's say I'm interested in quantity of products that are offered for a particular opportunity. I'm going to save this. I'm going to save it one more time. And now if I go and simply export it to Excel, then I'll get a new instance of this file or a new version of the file with this additional column. And you can tell that here's my new column. And that's great. That's a default and a standard features of Creatio. But what if, for example, for one task that I'm trying to solve within a day, I need to get the opportunity by or count of opportunities or count of products in the opportunity, and then I need another column for some other task and another column for some other task. So it appears that this grid layout I can only configure once, and this grid will stay permanent, or I can only have one option here. So how do I go about solving this problem? Well, this is exactly where this Excel report comes handy. Let's go into Studio, let's go into Excel reports and try to explore some options here. I'm going to create a new report, and I'm going to create something for opportunity. Now I can choose from different report types. It could be a custom report, edit page, or a section report. Let's start off with the section report. We need to choose the section. In our case, it's going to be opportunity. Oops. And once the record is created, we can open it and configure. Okay, so here I can configure the columns that I want. So for example, I want a contact. And for example, I may need an account. And I may need products, or not products, but let's jump into opportunity products. opportunity. It's easier if we search this way, opportunity product. And from here, I'll grab quantity. Perfect. I can configure filters just the same way I could configure them in the grid. Okay. So that's one opportunity. Let's create another opportunity. So let's create another opportunity too. Opportunity report 2. I am also going to use it as a section report. And I'm still going to configure it to my opportunity section. Now I could have copied it, and that's probably would have been a smarter option. So let's just go ahead and copy it and just simply reconfigure a couple of columns here. So I'm going to say a name. I'm going to say contact, and I'm going to say account. Let's say this is all I want, or maybe I want an amount as well. Perfect. So now I've got few to choose from. I've got 3 reports in my opportunities. Let's go inside sales, find the opportunities section. And in the opportunities section, now I have this Excel report. Inside this Excel report, I now have 3 to choose from, each with pre-configured set of columns. And this is great. This is exactly the problem that I was trying to solve. When I choose an opportunity, the set of columns will be selected, ones that I've pre-configured. And the files are just simply showing up in my Excel. Perfect. Now let's take a look at some advanced options of this report builder. I'm going to go back into my studio, into Excel reports. And in here, I'm going to create one more report. So let's say I'm going to call it quote. Report type in this case is going to be a page report. And we're also going to choose an opportunity here. Done. Where's our quote? Let's open it up. Let's configure the columns that we would like from the opportunity column, from the opportunity table. We want the contact. We want account. Let's say we want amount. Maybe we want an owner. And maybe we want a stage. We can always come back and reconfigure it a little bit later. Okay, so what I want to do now is, rather than having a flat file just like this, I also want some additional details. In Excel, you're probably familiar with formulas such as VLOOKUP, HLOOKUP, and so if I want to perform some of the lookups, I need another table. Let's go ahead and add related schemas. We call them schemas, you might be calling them tables. I am interested in adding details or another table for my products. So product. And let's find opportunity. Opportunity. Participant probability. There we go. Opportunity product. Now it is my responsibility to make sure that I know how to connect them. Now all the tables somehow need to be connected, so the opportunity need to be connected to the products inside this opportunity. So how do we connect them, and what are these fields? Well, you've got a detail column that represents a column inside the opportunity product, and then you have a master column that represents the same value for your foreign and primary key constraint on the opportunity table. So in the master, we're just simply going to choose ID, and in here, we're going to choose opportunity. Great. That's one column. From the opportunity product, I would like to grab a product. I would like to grab quantity, maybe price, maybe amount, so I don't have to do it myself, perhaps interest level, and maybe even a date quoted. I believe it's quoted on. Yes. Perfect. Now we can also filter items here. So if I only want items that we're interested in, I can add an additional filter by specifying that interested or interest has to be of a particular type. And from here, we can choose which interest we're interested in. Need discovered, not interested, or postpone. I'm not going to be filtering anything right now. I'll leave it up to you. Okay, so let's save this record. Now I've got the opportunity product. Let's go ahead and add another interesting column or another interesting table. Let's say that we are interested in the account information, so account address. So we're going to search for account address. Okay, so how are we going to configure it? Well, the opportunity has a column called account, and the account address has a column called account. So this is going to be a common column for both of these tables, and so I can configure it. From here, let's go ahead and grab address. Let's go ahead and add city, post or state. We also have country. And let's say we want a postal code or zip code. Okay, that looks good. We can do the same thing for, let's say, for a contact, but at this point, I'm not quite interested in the contact. Let's simply save this. We can close this. And let's go ahead back into our opportunity. So let's go back into sales. And inside sales, let's find our opportunity. Let's open this Axiom for now. And let's simply look at the Excel report. We see that inside the Excel report, I now have a quote. So quote, as the page report, will only show up when the page is open. If I look at the quote, and I look at it in Excel, I'll see that all the information that I've asked for is now broken down in 3 separate tabs. Here's some stuff about the opportunity itself, name, contact, account, etc. Here's something about the address of the organization that I'm dealing with. And here's something about the product itself. Now the formatting here is not quite what I want. For example, I want my quantity to be formatted as a number, so I'll just simply enable editing, and I'm going to use this Excel spreadsheet as my template. Let's make sure that we can do that. On a quantity, I'm going to format it as a number. I'm not interested in decimal places, so I'll remove it. I can do the same thing for my price, but in this case, maybe I'll use a currency. Quoted on, that's certainly a date, so let me go ahead and find a date here, or a format that I'm interested in. I like my dates to be formatted, let's say, this way. Okay, I can save this. Now the file that I'm saving is called quote1. Let's go ahead and create a new sheet. Let's drag it in the front, rename it real quick, and call it summary. In my summary, what I would like to do is I would like to provide information about the product and the contact information. So my quote is usually going to have a name. So we're going to grab the value here from the opportunity itself. We're going to say this is my opportunity. Okay. Now my opportunity is or for a particular person, or it's to a particular person. So we have a contact. So let's just name it contact. Let's say stage, and let's say we have an account. So my contact is going to be from the opportunity. Here's my contact. My account is going to be from opportunity account. And my stage is going to be from an opportunity stage. Okay, very good. The next thing that I want to do is I want to list my product. So let's say we're going to have number 1, number 2, number 3, etc. And we'll configure it a little bit later on. Let's move on to opportunity product. We're going to say that the product is here. And let's make it a little bit wider. And let's say that this is going to be our price or quantity. So let's name things accordingly. Product. Let it be a number, quantity. Let's say we now have, price, amount, and that's going to be enough. So price is going to be this fella, and the amount is going to be this fella. Okay, good. Now let's fix our header. And let's say that we want to normalize items here. So I'll just use the same formatting for all of them. Perfect. And what I can do here, for example, is I can say, well, this is going to be a sum of some sort. Sum. And let's go ahead and sum things up. Let me just quickly color it so it stands out, and I'll put it on the white. And I'm going to call this amount total. Let's give it like this. Perfect. So now if I simply drag it like this, I'll have a problem with all the zeros because I have only few items here. So I need to somehow address this issue. So how am I going to address it? Well, I'm going to use an old trick in Excel, and I'm going to say if this value is equal to nothing, then give me nothing, otherwise give me this value. So this way, when I drag it, rather than having zeros, I'll have nothing. I'll do the same thing here. If this item is equal to nothing, equal to nothing, then give me nothing, otherwise give me the value. Perfect. And I can drag it down. And so my zeros disappear. This way I can easily configure, let me just and stretch it down. Excellent. I can also do the same formula here. So we're going to say that if, let's say, this item not equals to nothing, then it's going to be 1. Otherwise, it's going to be nothing. So you can configure this formula. Okay, good. So I've got my template here, and everything seemed to be working. I'm getting my sum, but now I want this template to be applied and to be actually provided to me every time I click on this button. So how do I do that? Well, let's save this item as quote 1, or actually this is our template. So we're going to make sure that we can now upload it. Let's close our Excel. Let's drop down into our studio, find the Excel reports, find the quote, and go and upload this template. In my downloads, I believe, here's my quote 1, the one that we just worked on. Let's take this file and let's try to use this file as our template. Let's go back into sales. Let's go back into opportunities. Let's grab the one that we were working with and say that we would like a quote on it. We get a quote. Let's open this file. And what we can see is that everything is fine here. But this is the template, so you might be wondering if this actually gave me any information here or not. So let's close this and let's go into another opportunity. Let's say I want to work with this one for 7. Excel, quote. Let's open quote 3. Enable editing. And so you could tell that now I have a new quote, I have a new total, my formulas work, and all the values that I have asked for, they're all here for me. Okay, so this was a quick tutorial on how to use Marketplace, how to install applications, and how to quickly configure application that you want to use. Thank you very much, and I'm looking forward to speaking to you again.
Thanks, Kirill. And that brings us to our last session of day 4. What an exciting day we've had. Oleg Chayefsky, founder of BSender, has joined us today to discuss low-code chatbots, one of my favorite topics. Oleg, are you out there? I'll turn the floor over to you.
Hi, my name is Oleg Chayevsky. I am founder and CEO of Bisenda company. And today I want to talk to you about chatbots for Creatio platform. Let me start with a short information about our company. Bisenda company was founded almost 5 years ago, and we specialized on non-voice communications for Creatio platform. Omnichannel chats and rule-based chatbots, this is our point of focus. Now we provide communication through 18 communication channels. This is live chats on websites, on portals, in mobile applications, and of course through social networks and messengers. We support inbound and outbound chats. And moreover, we provide so-called hybrid chats, where chat can be transferred from a live agent to chatbot or from a chatbot to a live agent, wherever it is needed. Our product can be installed both in cloud or in-house, but you have to be sure that even if this product is installed in cloud, all communication history will be well protected, because this history will be stored in Creatio database. We do not keep anything on our own service. Everything will be in your hands. The last but not the least, that for the couple of last years, Bicenta is a partner of the year for Creatio Marketplace, and we are very proud of this. Okay, now let's talk about chatbots. Everyone already knows how virtual assistants can work, but I will tell you a little bit about how chatbots can work from Creatio platform. And before I tell you about it, I want to stress one thing, that all these virtual assistants, they can be created without code development, because several years ago we invented the way how to build a chatbot with the help of business process designer in Creatio. So what our how our chatbots work, what they can do. At first, they can interact with your clients based on preset scenarios. That's why these kind of chatbots, they are called rule-based chatbots. And this is very convenient for you, because with the business process designer, you can set up a logic you want to use. And it means that chatbot, which you design in such a way, this chatbot will always keep initiative in dialogue on its side. And it means that your conversion rate and your customers' satisfaction rate finally will be higher, because these kind of chatbots, they do not make any mistakes, because their behavior is already pre-designed. These chatbots, they can create new records in Creatio platform. It can be activities, it can be cases, orders, contacts, whatever you need. And what is important to know is that this process can be in live mode. It means that chatbot will create a new, let's say, service case in the same time when client is communicating with the chatbot. And it means that when chatbot asks some questions, and when client provides answers on these questions, these answers can be saved in different fields in a service case. And based on this information, other business processes can be activated inside Creatio. As I've already said, chatbot can transfer chats to live agents, or can take chats from live agents. And you will be able to design a very customized, unique, and dynamic logic for chat distribution inside Creatio. And for your client, it means that chatbot will be able to recognize that person, or if he or she is not recognized, chatbot can ask some questions to recognize. And based on that information, chatbot will decide to what group of agents to transfer the chat, if your client wants to be connected with a live agent. Sometimes our customers, they want more than just a rule-based chatbot. They want to have a chatbot, they want to have a virtual assistant that behaves as a real person. For this purpose, they need so-called natural language processing chatbots, and these chatbots can be built with the help of our product as well. What we need for it is just an integration with a third-party NLP services. So if you or your customer needs such kind of virtual assistants, you should know that it is possible as well. And what is important that as far as we do not provide our own NLP services, it means that you are free to choose any NLP services provider which you prefer. One another thing which I like very much from our chatbots is that chatbot can take some answers from your client as a signal, as a trigger to start business process or to call a web services. And this is very convenient for you, especially when you when your company is a large one, when you have several information systems inside your company. So sometimes it happens that you do not have inside Creatio database all the information you have about this or that person. But let's say if this or that person wants to know the balance of bank account, let's say. So after authorization, we can take that request, and based on that request, we can call a web services, and in return, we can get inside Creatio necessary information about account balance from another software system. And after this data will be saved inside Creatio, chatbot will be able to show to client this information. And also, I'm talking about it quite for a long time, almost a minute. In real life, it takes a seconds. And as a result, you can be sure that whatever it is needed, your client will be able to get the most up-to-date information which you have. The last thing I want to mention here is that chatbots can not only be initiated when your client wants to have a chat. Sometimes chatbots can be proactive, and based on certain logic, chatbots can get in touch with your clients and inform them about something what you want to tell to them. And it can be something regarding to your marketing initiatives, or it can be something related to your business processes. Everything is possible. Here are several of popular cases which our customers like the most. To simplify discussion about this kind of technology, we prefer to give names to our chatbots. So don't be surprised if you see these names here. And I want to start with Welcome Bot. And Welcome Bot helps your clients to contact with the right group of agents. And quite often we hear from our potential customers, they don't want chatbots. And I do not insist that they need chatbots. But after I explain them the functionality of Welcome Bot or of other bots, our customers agree with us that they would like to have this functionality. So sometimes we call our bots not virtual assistants, but sometimes we call them as communication robots. And the next bot, so-called waiting bot, interacts with your clients when your agents can't. Let's say if your contact center doesn't work 24/7, so you have to think about what will happen if some of your clients would like to chat with you in midnight or on weekend. If you don't think about this in advance, you can have a situation when your client will become disappointed because he or she will write a message and will not get anything in return. And for this kind of situations, waiting bot will help client, and waiting bot will inform clients that agents cannot answer now, and waiting bot can offer some alternatives like callback request or something else. Service bot will help your clients to create service cases, and notification bot will be able to inform your clients about changes in statuses of service cases. And of course, this is just an example, because the same notification bot will be able to notify clients about changes in opportunity stages or in document stages, whatever it is needed. Feedback bot and survey bot, they help you to conduct surveys. HR bot and training bot, they help you to interact with your potential or existing employees. And the idea of this slide is to show you that chatbots, they are like real employees. They can have a specialization. And we in our company, in Bisenda, we believe that now it is a time when chatbot is not something unique anymore. Chatbot is a must-have technology, and every company should have several of them. And I think that in the future, we will talk about dozens of chatbots for every company. And some of these chatbots will interact with clients, some of them will interact with partners, and some of them will interact with employees. Now we have more than 100 of customers from different continents. And of course, we will be happy if you join the family of our customers. Our main focus is on retail, banking, insurance, and services businesses. Now, let me continue with a live demo. Just give me a second, I will switch my screen. Okay, here we are. Now we are in Creatio system, and I will demonstrate you several cases, and I will start with one of the most popular for the companies which start with chatbots and which start with omni-channel contact centers in general. Please pay attention that here in so-called agents workplace, we have offline status of agent. It means that when client would like to get in touch with your company, no one will be ready to help your client at this moment. So let's go to the website. Here we can find an icon to call a widget. In this widget, can be listed different communication channels based on the choice of your client, and it can be messages, it can be a widget on a website. And you see that we are met by a virtual assistant, and at the beginning, as far as we are international company, this virtual assistant asks about language we prefer. Let's choose English. And here, chatbot offers a menu, and this menu is customizable. And once again, everything is created in business process design inside Creatio. Let's try to chat with agent. But you remember that our agent was offline. So at that very moment, chatbot has checked who is online at this moment. And as far as there was nobody who was online, so chatbot tells me that unfortunately our company cannot have a chat with you now, but maybe you are ready to leave a callback request. Yes, I want. As far as I am here, it is the very first time on this website, so website cannot recognize me. It means that chatbot needs some information about person just to understand whom to call back. So my name here is okay. Okay, let's imagine that my number is this. And call me tomorrow, please. Okay. This chat is closed, but now let's go back to Creatio and let's see what do we have inside Creatio system. If you go to notification panel, we will see here a new activity, and this activity was just created, and this activity tells us that there was unsuccessful attempt to communicate in the chat, and that there is a person whose name is Oleg who is expecting a callback. And what is more important, that system already has created a contact as well. And if you go here, let's open that contact page. You see that communication robot has created a new contact page. We have here name, we have here mobile phone. And if you go to the history of that contact, we will see here a link to a chat. And if you go inside the chat, we will be able to see the history of communication between chatbot and client. And you see that as agent, we had only one, it was a welcome bot. Okay, now let's go back to our system and let's repeat it, but let's our agent be online. Now, if I go back to website, and if I start a new chat, system offers me to make an option, and I want to chat with agent. And now system informs me that agent will answer me soon. And so now when we go to Creatio, we see here that there is a new chat, and I am as an agent, I can see that that chat is with existing contact with Oleg. And moreover, I can scroll and I can see a history of previous chats as well. So it is very convenient for me. And of course, I want to have a chat with that client, and these messages will be here. And let's imagine that that communication was successful and everything was okay. And now agent says goodbye. And after this, agent wants to close this chat, and agent chooses a consulting. And at that very moment, this chat is over for this agent, but it is not over for the client, because one another virtual assistant, we call it feedback bot, contacts person in the same widget and asks to give a feedback. Yes, consultation was helpful, it was good, and we can leave even comment. This is it. This chat is over. But if we go to chats in Creatio, we will find here this chat. We will be able to see the history of communication, and we see that at first communication was with welcome bot, and after that communication was with supervisor, and after that communication was with feedback bot. And what is more important, that here on consultation evaluation we have all this feedback from a client. Basically, this is it what I was planning to show you, and I will be happy if you contact us later, and we will be happy to make an individual demo for you, and we will be able to answer all your questions. Thank you very much for your attention. Goodbye.
Thanks, Oleg. Another great presentation, folks. Hope you enjoyed that. And that wraps up day 4 of our low code marathon. And before we go, we'd like to launch another quiz. So another chance to win some prizes. And today's question: what percentage of businesses build web applications utilizing citizen development tools within a year? And you see the answers, the possible answers that are on the screen. Please submit yours through the chat, and we will announce a winner tomorrow. So stay tuned. Bear with me, not tomorrow. Day 5, we do not work on weekends, so we would like to invite you to come back for our day 5 session. It promises to be another fun-filled day of presentations, and we look forward to seeing you there. Thank you very much.